Fighters, did you know if you're not careful, how you buy things will affect how you sell things? Having a cheap mindset. So for instance, if you think that, man, I'd never pay 500 bucks to paint this room or do this thing because you can do it yourself because you're the contractor. If you think to yourself, I'd never pay this for this, okay, you're going to have a hard time spitting that number out or whatever the number is. If you think that $5,000 is a lot of money when you're pricing up a project, you're naturally going to sell from a point of weakness where you're projecting that mindset and it's killing your business success. We all want to work with people, that want what we have. They're willing to find the money. They respect what we do and they're a joy to work with. Those people think differently than the typical broke contractor does. And being a cheap minded contractor is never going to lead you to sustainable winning in your business. And there's a core principle here that I want to introduce you to over the next few minutes that we have together. People with money think way differently about money and value than the typical contractor who's not making a lot of money. And you have to learn to tell yourself different stories and reframe your mindset and show the value. We devalue ourselves when we truly don't believe we're worth the numbers that we're spitting out of our mouth. Here in the contractor fight, we talk about getting a 50% gross profit margin. You figure up your costs, it's $2,000 to do the thing, and you're going to double it, charge $4,000 to the client. In your mind, if you're like, oh my God, that's a lot of money, they're never going to go for it, you're going to attract more of that bullshit. I don't know how all the woo-woo stuff works. I just know that it happens. And I know that this is a major shift for me about 20 years ago when I really started to separate how I think about money versus what was important to my prospects. That's why we teach that so much in our sales training program called the Shin Fu. So I want you to think about this. I'll share my own experience. I used to sell in the manner in which I bought. I was always looking for the deal because I didn't have a lot of money. I was always figuring out, is there another way that I can do this to save money and save money because money at the time was the most important to me. Well, people with money, I have money now. What's most important to me is convenience. It's my time. It's the hassle factor, all those different things that I just want shit checked off my list. Steve Shinholser, one of my great friends and mentors here in the contractor fight, he told a story one time about this painter came out to his house, and Steve comes from a family of painters. Steve grew up dirt poor, all right? And he's got gazillions in the bank. He's doing great. Well, at the time, Steve had an 8,000 square foot home, and this guy gave him a bid for painting the exterior. And he said to him, hey, Steve said, how long is this job going to last? And he told him, he says, but there's an upgrade you can do in the material that'll help the job last longer and has longer warranty and all this other bullshit. Steve says, well, how much more is it going to cost me to get the better product and the better warranty and all that stuff? And the guy literally says, man, it's a lot of money. Most people don't go for it. Well, Steve's like, well, how much is it? He said, it's like another 700 bucks. There's like another $700 on a $50,000 paint job. And this guy had all this head trash around it. And Steve's like, that's it? I thought you were going to tell me another 10 grand I was going to go for it. Literally, Steve thought it was going to be another 10,000 bucks and he would have fucking paid it. But this guy got in his own way because he didn't work on his money mindset. Guys, a broke mentality leads to undervaluing you and your services and your expertise. And you carry that with you. This mindset shrinks your profit margins. It attracts the wrong clients, the budget buyers, those that are not willing to invest in not just a high quality product, but an amazing experience with your company. What's also sad is a lot of you all, because you haven't worked on the money mindset shit and you're devaluing yourself, you're delivering amazing quality and amazing experiences, and they're all getting what they want and they're happy, but you're broke as hell because you haven't addressed the mindset piece. I've said this for years. I believe that success in business, all right, is like 85, 90% what's between your ears, and the other 10 to 15% is fucking math. That's it. You got to control that mindset. Align your thinking with the high value client that you want. Clients with money do not look at the price tag the way a bargain hunter does. They evaluate the investments based on quality, longevity, expertise of the contractor they're working with, and the promise of excellence, and they're willing to spend more money on these things. And a lot of you guys haven't figured that out yet, and it's costing you a lot of fucking money and a lot of sanity, and you're stealing from your family because you're not addressing these things. I once had a client who said to me, "You're over 2 times more money than the other contractor." And I just remained quiet. And he paused for a second. He says, "But I'm willing to spend more money because I believe you're the company that we want to work with that's going to really deliver based on your reputation and those types of other things." And guys, that was huge for me because I finally saw somebody who was really respecting what we did. But it took me planting my flag and saying, "This is what I'm charging. This is what I'm worth. I'm not going to play in the mud like the other guys." I had another client that actually says, "What do you do differently? Justify these higher prices?" And I didn't defend. Their question also wasn't rooted to them wanting to haggle over the money. They were just trying to understand. A lot of you guys think when they ask a question like that, that they're trying to get you to come down in your price and they have a problem with it. This person was just genuinely curious. I said, "That's an interesting question. What makes you ask?" And he says, "Well, you're quite a bit more money than the other people that we talked to, and I'm just curious how you come about that price." And I said, "Well, candidly, we charge more because we believe in hiring better people that aren't going to create more problems in the long run. And we want to build careers for our team. And we want to have enough money in the bank to stand by warranties and be in business long enough and have a great life for our employees and our teams. And we want to serve our community. And great people cost more money." I said, on top of that, I would say the biggest factor that I would say sets us apart is the way we pre-plan a job, because we know a lot of things that go wrong. And if we don't pre-plan these things properly, we're going to have some problems. He's like, "Cool. I was just curious." See, I didn't try to read his mind. I didn't get on the defensive. So many clients are just curious, yet we're making up these stories because we're approaching it with a broke money mindset. Like I said at the top of this thing, a cheap mentality in a contractor is never going to sustain wins for the long haul of your business. Okay? You're going to continue to struggle unless you work on this. So I want you to do this. I want you to reassess your value. Evaluate the value that you bring to your clients. We call it fixing your cheeseburger inside the contractor fight. Your product and experience, right? Product experience, that's your cheeseburger. That's the thing you're delivering the customer. Where can you improve it? If you're not adding massive value, find ways to add massive value. Set a new standard is another thing I want to ask you to do. If you want to charge what you're really worth, you have to start by buying into that value yourself to see that it's actually worth something. See, I think we take things for granted in our own trade, right? We just make a lot of assumptions. We take things for granted, like answering a fucking phone or showing up when you said you were going to show up and everything else in between. Those things add value to people because you're not creating a to-do list or stress for your customers. Communicate your value to clients. One of the ways that you can do that, we've talked about so many times here, is creating content and social media posts where you're talking about the values in your organization. You're raising up your teammates. You're showing pictures of you training your team, different aspects of the trade that you work in, and you're sharing those things with the world. You're educating, you're answering questions through content on your blog. All these things combined elevate the value that you're bringing somebody because now they take you seriously. A lot of you guys are so stuck in the mud with this money mindset bullshit that you think you got to be cheap. I'll also tell you, this squirrel moment here, but it popped into my mind. A few days ago, I was having a conversation with somebody and we were talking about discounting. And he's like, "Yeah, whenever I discount, it really doesn't help." And I said, "Dude, there was a period of my business many, many years ago where when I went back and I looked at all of our sales data from every job that we discounted, our sales closing rate was actually lower than our normal non-discounted close rate." That doesn't send a message. I don't know what does. Finally, I want you to engage in some self-corrected self-talk. Have self-awareness. Can I say the word self anymore in a 30-second period? Probably not. All right, have some self-awareness around the things that you think and the things that you say, because what we think, we start to believe. And then what we believe, those become our actions or inactions, and then we get our results or the shitty results. Okay, we call it T-bar here in the fight. Thoughts, beliefs, actions, results. So control your thoughts. If you hear yourself starting to go, "Oh, they're never going to go for this," you got to go, "I got to self-correct this. I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what their life situation is." I had people many years ago, this appointment, I went on a sales appointment for a paint job, probably 25 years ago now. I spit out an $8,000 price to paint this house. Try to speed this up for you. All right. In my mind, I'm not sure they're going to go for this. I present the price. They look at each other and he goes, "Are you sure?" And I went, "Yeah, that's the price." He's like, "Well, shit, I thought it was going to be like 25 grand. I left all this money on the table because I lacked confidence." Raise your hand if you ever done that, right? This is friendly fire. We can control this stuff. So listen, your personal money mindset directly impacts how you sell. So you got to work on it. You got to reframe that self-talk. Okay? When you see yourself or hear yourself starting to think or say things, self-correct, reframe it with a positive affirmation that's going to start to train your brain how to think so your beliefs and actions change from that. Find that motivation to stop having the mindset like everyone wants to shop on the fucking clearance rack because they don't, and start investing in yourself. When you buy into these things, you're going to see your business grow, your bank account grow, and your stress go down when it comes to financial things in your life. So listen, if this resonated with you and you really want to turn this mindset stuff around, I want to encourage you to look in to our Contractor Business School. If you go to contractorbusinessschool.com, you can check out what we have there. Long story short, you get a ton of resources. You get me once a month for a live Q&A that only Contractor Business School gets, where I directly and personally answer your questions and coach you on a live call. And a big foundation of this program is unfucking your cheap money mindset. You guys rock. I got to roll. I'm out.